The Ming Dynasty was the last dynasty to use swords as standard weapons in warfare. The Dao and the Jian were actively being used on the battlefield, however it was a time of transition, as firearms were highly developed and more prominently used on the field of battle. Generally, Dao were carried by soldiers and lower-ranking officers, and Jian were more often carried by mid to high-ranking officers, the rich and elite, and the imperial family. There was even an official attire system for Jian pommel designs and decoration that represented rank. So you might be surprised where this sword fits into the picture, as its design is defined by many collectors as a peasant sword. Before we can get into detail on this particular Jian, we have to return to the Dao, and more importantly, the Ming codes and regulations regarding ownership. Although the Ming Code did not prohibit the private manufacture and possession of swords by the public, the sale of military swords was absolutely prohibited. While it was possible for civilians and collectors to commission a Dao from a local bladesmith, carrying it around may have garnered some inconvenient questioning. So an effective workaround was to forge a Jian with dao-like qualities. These Jian had broad blades with thick spines that made them exceptional for cutting and still effective for thrusting, which is why this particular sword is called a cutting sword. Civilian swords like this were not rare, and actually quite common. Surprisingly high numbers have been unearthed and preserved, and for more reasons than just the restriction and regulations against the sales of military Dao. One of the reasons had to do with the image of the Jian, which has always been considered as a refined and noble weapon, and highly favored by the elite classes and scholars. This high regard increased its social value, which led to more people collecting, preserving, and passing the sword on through future generations, while at the same time the military Dao was being smashed up on the battlefield. Another reason would be the spiritual representation, as Jian were commonly used to ward off evil spirits, whether in Taoist ceremony or in decor in feng shui. The Jian was a symbol of deadly sophistication. And so Jian appreciation became a fashionable pursuit amongst the elite and the scholarly. But most importantly, the Jian was a necessity, as banditry was rampant throughout the Ming Dynasty. Jian like this were commissioned by the wealthy to arm themselves and their own bodyguards to provide reliable protection at close quarters. Interestingly enough, this also became a time of revival for swordsmen and swordsmanship, as manuals on techniques were being published and swordsmen were making names for themselves both on and off the battlefield. It's important to remember that terms like civilian sword, or even worse, peasant sword, are not a reflection of the quality of swords made at this time. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Because although firearms were taking over the battlefield, the manufacturing and production of swords was still being progressed. There were methods like folded steel, embedded steel, sandwich steel, twist core, and even heat treatment was progressing and refining at this time for some very high quality blades. It's just that these blades were not official military blades, which needed a clear distinction to remain within the regulations. When it came to the blade construction, these swords not only served as a reliable tool of self-defense, but excelled at it. Many civilian swords had complex decorations like open pommels, engravings on the guard and fittings, and embedded decorations on the blade like the 7-star pattern. And that's where I want to shift focus over to this particular blade, the Ming Disc Guard Cutting Jian by LK Chen. The sword is 36 inches long with a 27.5-inch blade, and the version in this video is made of high carbon manganese spring steel. Wide cutting blades like this were pretty typical to the mid to late Ming Dynasty that terminate with a wide curve to the tip in the duck tongue style. The open pommel is quite a complex design that not only takes on the image of a gourd, but even has a coin design in the center and an exterior lobe at the very end that can be used as a striking point to deliver concentrated, blunt power. Lanyards are typically passed through the open pommel to secure the hand when wielding the sword. However, I typically remove mine as a personal preference. The handle of the sword has an ovular cross-section and is wrapped with true ray skin that not only ensures a secure grip, but glistens in the sunlight, even with the deep indigo blue dye. The disc guard has 4 lobes and a slightly embossed outer rim. This type of guard was extremely common on civilian swords in the Ming Dynasty and was most likely inspired by the Japanese tsuba found on katana. Like the rest of the fittings on the sword, it is made of iron, which also is very common in the mid to late Ming. The scabbard keeps the indigo blue theme with its faux leather wrap, and more iron for the collar, suspension, and chape fittings. The look of this sword is sleek and capable. It doesn't boast, even with the open, complex pommel. It has a tempered confidence that's backed up in application, as this sword definitely lives up to its name. This sword is a superb cutter. It moves so fast and is so well balanced and cuts through all different types of targets with ease. It has all of the best qualities of a Jian with the cutting prowess of a Dao. And it isn't just for cutting. This Jian is perfectly suitable for forms training and martial arts practice. In fact, the nimbleness of this Jian makes it an excellent sword for forms demonstration, and it is not at the expense of martial effectiveness or design. It moves this well naturally. Now, you might be wondering if the disc guard or even the large pommel get in the way when working with the sword to do traditional Jian forms and training, and I can tell you confidently, it does not. I mean, obviously you're not going to be able to point your finger over the guard, but you can perform every other technique in typical Jianfa without restriction or hindrance. And as for the ray skin on the handle, it actually is quite a comfortable grip that provides a lot of traction but isn't too abrasive. And the ovular cross-section of the handle makes it quite comfortable to hold. Many people likely overlook this sword as it doesn't have the typical guard or pommel that we're used to seeing in Qing and Republic era examples. But this sword handles so well, and it was actually really common in the Ming Dynasty. It's truly a shame that this sword is not more well recognized. Similar swords have been featured in television series and movies like The Swordsman 2 with Jet Li. But even then, the representation is quite low, and even more so for what is even seen outside of China. So hopefully this video has given you a better understanding about this truly special sword. I really can't say enough about it. It's one of my all-around favorite Jian for both forms training and cutting, which is truly special. Now, if you want to learn more about this sword, I will leave a link to its listing on LK Chen's website, as well as a couple of links as to where I got my references, especially about the origins of this sword in the Ming Dynasty. If you're interested and you want to know more about it, drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.